It seems there's a few people have maybe not quite the right idea about exactly what I mean when I say escaping the trap of work. And there's a tendency for people to think I mean that you can just stop working and never do anything that remotely resembles work ever again, and that's fine. And well, the thing is, our civilization does offer the chance of very nearly that. If you look at futurists talking in the early part of the 20th century, they were certain that by now we'd all be working a maximum of 10 to 15 hours a week, and that work would be supervising the machinery and robots that was doing the actual work. But of course that would mean for the people who own the means of production to relinquish control of it and allow it to free the rest of us, and that cuts into their profit margin, so they don't want to let that happen. So what I mean by escaping the trap of work isn't just stopping working. I mean stopping working in the way that takes you away from your family and friends for the vast majority of the week, has you doing something maybe you don't actively hate doing it, but that doesn't create anything of value to you, that doesn't spark joy in your soul, that doesn't create anything worthwhile or do a job that actually needs doing. It just generates profit for the owners, of which you're allowed just enough to pay your rent and buy your food. Now, I was listening to Alan Watts because it's spring, and there's a great conversation he has with some guys on his ferry boat. And there's this one guy there called Gary Snyder, who actually was a very pragmatic dropoutist in the 60s, and he talks very thoughtfully and intelligently about the practice of getting outside this situation. And he was talking about how because of weird union contract stuff, the longshoremen on San Francisco were laid off work with full pay, some of them for years at a time. And sure, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, they watched telly and drank beer, but then they got bored and they bought boats. And then they got bored with just driving around in boats, so some of them learnt to sail. And then they started learning to repair and maintain the boats. And then they started learning to build boats themselves. Given the chance, people work, just not what we have become accustomed to calling work.